Hi, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the KnightTime podcast. My name is Dustin Hibbler. I am the Associate Director of Recruitment and Admissions for Southwest Chicago Christian Schools. We are at the Oaklawn campus once again. If you recall our last episode, we talked with Faith Treemstra, the kindergarten teacher at Oaklawn. And today we're changing things up. We are back to having a visual for you, and we'll explain that as we go. I'm going to have our guest introduce himself.
I'm Nate Pettinga, principal at the Oaklawn campus. I've been here 9 years and excited to talk about some night news.
Well, he kind of stole my thunder there, so we're going to talk about some night news.
That's fine. Yeah, this is a passion project for me, so I'm excited to talk about it today.
Cool. All right, so let's first and foremost, so SKN, some night news. For those, I'm familiar with it, obviously you're familiar with it, but for those who aren't familiar with it, what is it and how'd you come up with it?
Yeah, so I've been doing this a while here, and I always like to change things up. And with the school year coming up, and we were dealing with not being able to gather, because I think it's important for us to understand that at the Oaklawn campus, and I think at Southwest, community for us is defined by being together. I think that's part of being Christ followers. That's how we're wired to be. And when you are no longer able to gather as a whole school, you had to think creatively in how you create culture and climate. And one thing that I thought about is how do I communicate to students? And we were rolling out with new character traits this year. We have 18 of them. Call them the Knight Formation character traits, and they're a combination of academic, social, emotional, and spiritual traits. So I wanted to give a fresh look on that.
Okay.
And I was sitting in the backyard in the summer with our librarian, shout out to Heather Altina, and we were just doing some vision casting. And at that point, John Krasinski had made a run with some good news on YouTube, and that was really gaining a lot of traction, a lot of views. And so I was telling Heather, hey, I was thinking about doing announcements, but I was going to do a video, but I just really don't know the framework. And she goes, well, why don't you do some night news? And then it just clicked. And then we just started talking about how we can get students involved. Because at that point, too, we were going to have both in-person and students remote.
Right.
And so how do you include kids that are remote and include them in what's going on? It's tricky, right? So
yeah.
So it's a way of us communicating our culture, climate, us to get students involved, and also try to bring a positive feel to already a very stressful time that a lot of kids are facing some anxiety, and what is school going to look like. So it's really how Some Night News started. Okay. And it just kind of went from there.
Yeah. So thank you, John Krasinski. If you ever watch this,
tag at SGN. Hashtag.
All right. So you had mentioned that obviously we have kids in person. We had kids remote at the time. Obviously that's shifted a little bit. But how exactly were you filming these episodes? How were you getting the kids involved? What did that look like?
Yeah. So it's just from an iPad. Okay. I literally for the first episode, I had my son, just like John Krasinski had my son write SKN on a thing in notebook paper.
There you go.
So one wrote the letters and the other one colored it in. That was the sign. I literally was filling the gap in as I wrote. And I needed, for the first episode, we had to do the running gag of a weather, right? Mm-hmm. So I literally just told my, at then time, 6-year-old, hey, come outside. I just wanted you to say it's hot. And I just filled him doing that. So I was really kind of just filling it as I go and trying to find a rhythm. And I kind of knew what I wanted to do. And we were going to do some spots, but introduce the character traits, call that Knight Formation with Mr. Pettinga. I had a friend who got a good announcing voice. So I reached out to him if you could do some voiceovers, threw some music together, and we just ran with it. And then it was a lot of fun. But at the first episode, I had about 3 people help me.
Okay.
But at that time, we were going to do it every week. And that wasn't doable. So I had to learn how to do it by myself. And that was thinking, it's a whole process, right? So so you have to think of the ideas. You then have to write it.
Yep.
And then you have to get people to fill in the roles and kind of do the scope and sequence of it. And then you actually had to act it out and put it all together. And then you have to think of transitions. You got to think opening, closing. You got to think of filming it. You got to think of sound, video,
a lot of elements.
And then I think the longer process with it all is the editing portion, because some of my episodes have gotten really long, and you kind of want that sweet spot between 10 and 12 minutes. Once you get past that, it can get very redundant, and it kind of did. I think a lot of people enjoyed it because we always air it at the beginning of the week, kind of like the announcements for the week.
Yeah.
So the kids really got into it by week 3, but by like week 6, week 7, it got really, you could sense the redundancy. And once you've done something over and over again, you kind of had to switch it up. So, but yeah, from how it's done, yeah, pretty much is a one-man show with that, because I could control my schedule and do things. But
and that's a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at even something like SNL. And they basically lock the writers in a room from, I think it's like Monday to Thursday.
Yeah.
And then they perform it Friday and Saturday, and then they take Sunday off.
I don't air before a national audience. I air before.
Not yet.
No, not that quality. I think I've had some good pieces, but it's a hit or miss. So.
All right. So I was here last week, I believe it was Wednesday, and we filmed some behind the scenes stuff, because you're doing a new segment. What is your new segment?
Yeah, so I probably have aired a good almost 20 episodes now of SKN. I think in the first half of the year was season 1, and nearing that season I had a couple episodes where I wanted student involvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted students, so I had students sign up who were interested, and they wrote. I helped them write some segments on the episode. They acted it out. Some filmed, so they could get kind of like behind the scenes of how it was done.
Right.
So I did 2 student episodes in the first half of the year, or season 1, and then the second half of the year, we've done less episodes. It's every 2 weeks, and we do another video series called Prayer Square, which builds in more worship and spiritual formation. But so we kind of alter it. But so I again in February, I asked for students who want to sign up, and tricky part is kids love it. Kind of create your own monster, and the kids. I have some students that really wanted into it, and so I had about 10 students individually. But then my grade 1, 2, and 3 teachers all said majority of the students want to do SKN. So I guess I give you an example. Like I had a sign contest for season 2, and I had kids just make lots of signs, and it's like, why would I pick one? How can I get as many people involved? So again, I had to sit back and go, how do I get a whole class involved?
Tricky.
Yeah, because it's not like you can do. There's so many. So there's only so many slots, and you don't want to leave kids out, and you want to get the experience.
Yeah.
So because I had 3 grade levels who all want to do it. I kind of just said, let's do a film in front of a live audience. And my brain just said, there's SKN Down the Hall series. So the nice thing about having technology like this is I can move this wherever we want to go.
Right.
And so we moved down the hall. So I bring the studio to the classroom. And what you saw last week was the first of 3 episodes. The next episodes that will be before a live studio audience. So now that's a whole different dynamic.
Right.
So you had to make cue cards, and you got to let people, okay, we're going to laugh, we're going to clap, we're going to film, we're going to act. And then on top of that, I had different segments that kids acted in. So in the episode that will air, there'll be like a music video, because I'm using now green screens. I've done a couple segments with green screen. So I did green screen segment, and then and just something funny with Lost in, I don't know. Yeah. So there's ways that I try to do. I have to think of segments to include as many kids as possible to be part of it. And if they don't want to be part of it, because some kids just don't want to do it,
right,
they can just be part of the audience. So then they can actually see, kind of what goes into creating something. And at the end of the day, I want them to be inspired. I want them to have fun with it.
Right.
But again, I'm putting myself out there because I have to write an episode that is totally different, because when it's by myself, I can do a lot of things.
Right.
And now I'm having to do much more filming, but directing it all at the same time. And we'll see how the episode turns out. But you also have to understand it's third grade students, and the next 2 episodes will be second and first grade. So you also have to think about age of kids and what they're able to do, and being able to read off a screen and do things. So you have to make it developmentally appropriate too.
And it's cool because there's something for everybody, but obviously the different age groups, the something for everybody part of that changes to whether they're audience members, news anchors. You have the sports bit, which is always hilarious.
Yeah, true fans. Yeah, that one. And even with this third grade episode, I pulled in some middle school kids. Yeah, you know, you always what I've fallen on is trying to find out what's going on in the school and kind of like use that as content area.
Yeah.
So like March Madness or baseball, or like one of the segments coming up is a runway show on Lost and Found, and we just call it. So I had kids just wear Lost and Found clothes and do a runway series. So it's like a spring show, just a hilarious bit. Because I have all these Lost and Found clothes. I did wash the clothes before they wore them, but we literally just put them on them. And
disclaimer at the bottom of the screen: all clothes have been
any
washed.
Any clothes in this episode have been washed. I washed them myself. Now I don't know how well, but yeah. So it's being able to have that freedom to be creative with it. So.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had a lot of fun with it. I know that when I first saw the episode come through on Facebook, I was a little confused because I didn't know you were doing it. But then I watched it and I was like, this is absolutely hilarious, because I'm on Instagram and Facebook a lot. Sure. And I saw what John Krasinski had done with it and how he got other celebrities involved. He got his wife involved. And like you said, it was so run and gun shooting that's why it was so funny.
Right. And I don't have celebrities on now. I would say I've got some people that I've known network, but not this season. This season's been a lot about just what's going on at school. And again, it's all about the kids. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how the future episodes air out, but we're in a rhythm right now, and I think we're feeling good about it. So.
Yeah, that's a great segue. So we kind of already touched on this. Maybe we'll flesh it out a little bit more. So you said, how has it been fun, challenging, frustrating? I mean, you mentioned when you incorporate the students, you're directing as well as writing, as well as getting all the technical elements put together.
Sure.
I have to imagine that that's something you probably didn't picture yourself doing when you started this.
Well, let's just say being a Christian school principal, there's a lot of things to the job that you don't anticipate. You kind of have to be flexible, and that's one thing to learn this year.
Flexibility is definitely
flexibility.
The word of the year,
right? And I think all of us teachers here in every school, shout out to every educator, had to be creative this year. And this is just, I don't think I would be forced into doing something like this if I wasn't put in that position. So you kind of get forced into doing something. You got to think creative, and you got to think of how could this be, and so I don't know what this will look like next year. It could be similar. It could be something totally different. I don't really know. I know that I'm not limited to what we can do, and how we can utilize students. At the end of the day, I want something where I can incorporate students into what's going on, and teachers too, and families that can be part of something like this. And if I can use my gifts of something like this to do that, it makes it even more worthwhile.
Yeah, it's definitely been cool this year. Obviously, it's my first year, and we've had to make all of our open house videos to show people what we can do here. And the blessing, if we can put it as a blessing, that we had the pandemic kind of at the tail end of last year, people got used to being on camera.
Sure.
And that's another reason why I think this has been such a big hit, because these kids, they were on Zoom a lot last year, and they were on, videoing themselves. A lot of kids have phones.
Yeah.
So it's really cool when you can kind of flex that muscle a little bit, but also teach these kids that, hey, if this is what it takes to make SKN, imagine what it takes to make your favorite film.
Right. Everybody's got a camera in their pocket.
Right.
So the good thing with smartphones is you can make a movie really easily with iMovie or something. It comes fully loaded with all kinds of stuff. So you're not out trying to find it. So you can do a lot there, but it comes with the responsibility, right? So technology is great, and it can help you be a creative outlet for an art piece like this. But it comes with a responsibility too. I put myself out there every week. And so while it's great, I also have to honor that, and I have to do it with integrity, because an art form like this means I'm being public. Now, every episode is unlisted on YouTube. I don't share it publicly. It's only you can get it by, I put it on Facebook, but I always protect students' identity with only using first names. So you gain exposure, but try to do it with integrity and with responsibility. And because, this could also quickly go the other direction, but I think it allows us to laugh. And if there's anything I've learned is the joy of laughter and the gift of laughter and being able to laugh at ourselves. And to know this doesn't have to be perfect. This has room for it to just look like it's literally filmed right here. So that's what's nice about it. It doesn't have to be this polished production that you're putting out. It can literally look like I'm doing it in a classroom.
Right, because we are. And to quote the comedian Tim Hawkins, for those of you who are Tim Hawkins fans, people, if you can't laugh at others, laugh at yourselves.
My kids tell me I'm not a very good joke teller, but I have fun with it. So
there you go. All right. Well, let's recap for everybody here. So you are Nate Pettinga, principal at the Oakland campus. You said you've been here for 8 years?
I'm in my 9th year.
9th year. Okay, yeah. I was off by 1. When I met you, you had just finished your 8th year. There we go. I resurrected it.
So you're good.
So some night news, SKN, as the backdrop shows you here. Thank you, John Krasinski. Thank you, Heather Altina. We talked about how you started out as kind of a one-man band, and then now that you've spaced these episodes instead of being week in and week out to every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun being in the classroom and seeing the live audience and the kids holding up the cue cards.
I haven't seen your footage yet, but I'm interested to see how bad I sound, or how hopefully I didn't come across too.
Which is even funnier because obviously while we're recording this, he doesn't know what it's going to look like in post.
I haven't even made the episode for it. So the episode airs next week, Monday. I got a week left to. I haven't even edited the episode yet.
There you go. It's spring break, by the way. So
I haven't made the episode yet, so I don't know how well it's going to come out.
So, all right. Well, I'm curious to see what this looks like next year.
Yeah,
I know that you.
Me too. Heather and I need to do more vision casting this summer and to figure it out. So
fair enough. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for the 12th episode of the KnightTime podcast.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, I had fun making these this year. It's hard to believe that this is the April episode. May will be the final episode of the school year, and then ready or not, summer's here.
Here we go. Already planning for next year, my friend. Always planning for next year.
Of course. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time as SKN Down the Hall tour continues, next time with 2nd grade.
Can we like walk away afterwards like you did with the original SKN?
What did I do last time?
You walked away.
The tutu? My tutu is too big for you. All right, here we go.
Still walk away. You like before.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Ryder, you're going to start us out. Let's just go through it. Here we go. Quiet on the set.
Finally, at SKN, we want to give out some...
No, not that. Cut!
What? I didn't say anything!
We already did that!
Oh.
She starts. Happy...
You said Ryder
Oh, stop it. All right, fine. Quiet on the set.
Happy birthday to each of you. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Ryder. This has been SKN, so remember to making some night news by being a follower of Christ, a seeker of knowledge, a pursuer of justice, and a caretaker of creation. Thank you so much to our third grade student audience. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time as SKN Down the Hall Tour continues next time with second grade.